All right, so by now we have some practice both encrypting and decrypting the affine cipher. So we're going to begin the next cipher, which is called the Vigenere cipher. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen so I can walk you through the PowerPoint here. So the Vigenere cipher, how does this work? So let's think back just to the affine cipher for a minute. So what was it about the ciphertext when it was encrypted using an affine cipher that allowed us to break that affine cipher relatively easily? And is there a way that we can change this? So kind of the feature that we exploited there was the letter frequencies, which we know for the English language. So how should the frequencies look in your ciphertext in order to make a cipher more secure? All right. So beginning the Vigenere cipher, the key for this cipher is actually a word, and we call that the keyword. So this is different than the affine cipher or the shift cipher, which use numbers. The shift cipher, of course, uses an additive key, and the affine cipher uses an additive and multiplicative key. The keyword can be anything, although there are some words that are quote unquote better than others or more secure because certain keywords could cause things to happen in your ciphertext that could make it easier for an eavesdropper to kind of figure out what your key is. So basically the idea is after we have this keyword, it's going to be a series of shift ciphers. So we're already comfortable with the shift cipher. That's when you take the letter of the alphabet and add a certain number to it, right? So how does this work? We're going to have to use the Vigenere square. So that one is up on Canvas, and it's the one that looks like this. So our first two rows are just the letters of the alphabet, as well as their corresponding numbers 0 through 25. And then we're going to be using the center part right here, which we haven't really discussed up to this point. But basically what this is that this is rows. So the first row is just A through Z. The first row is essentially using a shift cipher with a key of 1. So we're starting with B, go through Z, and then we circle back to A. And so we're kind of shifting it 1 for every row all the way to the bottom. All right, and we're going to show you how to use that in just a minute. So that's what the Vigenere square is. All right, so let's suppose we're agreeing on a keyword. We're going to use the keyword pizza. And the message that we want to send is lunch at noon, ? But of course, we know that for the plain text, we have to remove all the spaces, get rid of capitalization, get rid of punctuation. So our plain text is just this, lunch at noon. So how do we encrypt this message? So what we're going to do is give ourselves basically a table where we're going to have the plain text all written out in a row, and then we're going to write the keyword above it, kind of one letter at a time. So what that looks like is, here's our plain text. Again, this is in the middle here. And then for the keyword, since it's pizza, I'm just matching one letter from the keyword with one letter of the plain text. And then, of course, the keyword is not long enough, so we have to keep repeating it just until we get to the end of the plain text. So now we want to actually encrypt. So we're going to encrypt using that Vigenere square that I mentioned. And how we're going to do that is we're going to take the plain text letter. So let's just start with the first letter, which is L. And we're going to use the key letter P to encrypt it. So we're going to go to our Vigenere square, find the L column. So the column is going to be the plain text letter, and the row that we use is the key letter. So we want the L column and the P row. What does that look like? The L column is right here, and the P row is over here. We want to find where they intersect, which is L intersects L column with P row, which intersects at the A. So that tells us that L encrypts to an A in our, so A is going to be our ciphertext letter there. All right, so this is what we have so far. Maybe I'll just do one more example. So remember the key letter, or sorry, the plain text letter is the U. We'll use this as the column, and then we'll find the I row. So U column, I row. Here's the U column, find the I row, which is here. So you can see the U column and the row that starts with I. So our second letter in the ciphertext is going to be a C. All right, So you should pause the video now, see if you can practice encrypting a few more letters. Try to do the rest of the message just to make sure you're understanding how the encryption is working there. But this is the message that you should get for your ciphertext. So you can kind of check the answers there if you pause the video. And then I have a couple questions for you. What do you notice about this cipher? So is there kind of anything interesting happening, anything that you didn't expect? And another question is, does it seem more secure than the affine cipher or the shift cipher? And why or why not? So we'll start there on Monday talking about the Vigenere cipher.